Hello guys, welcome to another virtual biology lesson, and as we have finished a chapter about invertebrates, it's time to move to a more complex, evolutionary-wise group of animals, which are birds. The birds have inner skeletons, thus they are vertebrates. They are the only animals that have feathers to protect them from getting cold, and unlike amphibians or reptiles, they indeed can get cold. Frogs and lizards, as you remember, are cold-blooded, which means that their body temperature depends on the temperature of the surroundings. Birds are warm-blooded, which means they keep the constant body temperature regardless of what's happening around them, regardless of weather conditions. This allows them to live in various environments from ice deserts of Antarctica to hot deserts in Africa. They have also mastered the ability of flying, which lets them move quickly for long distances if they need to look for food or for mating partners. So let's start with birds are warm-blooded, czyli stało cieplne. And guys, let's talk about birds' adaptations to flying. And guys, the first adaptation is of course feathers. Their bodies are covered with thin and dry skin, and that skin creates feathers. They have also very light bodies, and their bodies can be light because they have so-called pneumatic bones. What does it mean that they have pneumatic bones? It means that their bones are empty inside. They have cavities filled with air, so the bones are stiff, they are springy, but yet they are empty inside. They carry a lot of air inside, which means that their mass can be reduced. They also have, of course, aerodynamic shape. And here I'm talking about birds that actually fly, because if we think about chickens, well, their bodies are not necessarily aerodynamic, but chickens, they don't fly. The same thing applies to ostriches, strusia. They have back legs, which are here in this picture, and they allow them to move in water or on land. And in some cases, especially the carnivorous birds, they uh, have very sharp claws that allow them for hunting. But what is important in the case of birds is the fact that their front legs have transformed into wings. They have eyelids because they don't live in water. They have to protect their eyeballs from the dust and other debris that might damage them. Another feature that is present in birds is so-called uropygial gland. Po polsku to jest gruczoł kuprowy. And this uropygial gland is located in the back part of the bird's body, and it secretes oil that birds use to maintain their feathers with, so their feathers will not dry out and will not lose their properties. And this is absolutely crucial for them. And guys, speaking of feathers, birds have evolved a few kinds of feathers. And here we have them. The first type of feathers are wings, lotki, lotka w liczbie pojedynczej. And guys, this type of feathers is located in the back of the wings, creating force that allow birds to fly. And if we take a look here, we can see them. I'm sorry for this. We can see them here and here. Basically, they line up the edges of the wings, allowing them to fly. So located in the back part of the wings. They create force, allowing to fly. The second type of feathers are tails, sterówki. And those feathers are located on the tail of the bird, and those feathers are responsible for steering during the flight. And in this picture we can see them here. Those are all tails, and there are just a few of them, but they are extremely crucial for the birds to fly, and the bird might have problems with flying if it loses all of them. Another type of feather are counters, pióra pokrywowe. And it's basically located on the whole surface of the body. And this type of feathers, creates that smooth outlook of a bird. So it adds to the aerodynamic shape. And the last type of feathers are the semi-plumes, pióro puchowe. And it can be found again on the whole body but below counters. It's located underneath the counters. And their task is basically to keep the warmth with the bird, so they act as a coat for them so they won't get cold. They are fluffy, they are soft, and they keep lots of air close to the body of the bird so the heat will not exit the body. And once we are talking about this, let's talk about the fact that the feather is made of a few elements, each of them. And we have the biggest part, which is called the barbs, po polsku chorągiewka. And it's the part that creates the whole surface of the feather, so it allows to create the carrying force. The thing that is holding the whole barbs on itself is called rachis, czyli po polsku stosina. And the part that attaches the whole feather, to the body of the bird is called calamus, dudka. Basically, the barbs is made of a few further elements that I will encourage you to investigate with the link that I have attached to this video. And guys, another thing that is really important and interesting about the birds is the fact that they have lungs, but their lungs are connected with air sacs. So we have the main lung part. They are in the form of long tubes, but to this we have attached the air sacs. So basically those are empty bags, and that is pretty much interesting because when the bird inhales, the gas exchange happens in the lungs, because here is the surface of the gas exchange, right? So when it inhales, the gas exchange happens in the lungs, and air sacs also fill with air. But when the bird exhales, the gas exchange can still occur because the air from the lungs is going out, but it's being replaced with unused air from the air sacs. So it means that the bird has a constant supply of oxygen. It's the most effective respiratory system among vertebrates, and it's crucial when they fly, they need a constant supply of energy. So here we have lung, and here we have air sacs. Worki powietrzne. When we inhale, then the gas exchange happens. When we exhale, it stops for a moment. This is, in the case of birds, not any problem because the gas exchange is happening constantly. And guys, let's talk a little bit about the life cycle of the birds. Okay, guys, so birds start their mating season with courtship display. Po polsku toki. And guys, this is the moment when the males will usually perform many various things in order to convince the female to mate. So they will sing, they will dance, they will bring the gifts for the females, they will clean up their nests in order to convince the female, yes, mate with me. All the birds are oviparous, which means they lay eggs. And The eggs are being fertilized inside female's body, which means this is the internal fertilization. Because remember, when we were talking, for instance, about fish, the fertilization was external. So the female fish would lay raw on the bottom of the body of water, and then the male would come and spray it all over with sperm, and then the external fertilization happens. In case of birds, it happens inside the body of the female. Birds lay eggs usually in their nests. Gniazda. And guys, the number of eggs depends on species, but it turns out that birds are capable of counting, so they will not start incubating the eggs before the number is given for a certain species. So if you keep taking one egg at a time from the nest of a chicken, the chicken will not start to incubate them until there are plenty of them. The chicken knows how many of them are necessary. The eggs are then being incubated, which is usually in the form that the female is sitting on them and keeping them warm with its body. And guys, what happens after the eggs have hatched depends on the species, because we have two types of birds. So let's assume eggs hatch, and then we divide them into two groups. In the first group of altricial birds, czyli gniazdowniki, the chicks, which are the newly hatched birds, are totally dependent on their parents. So their parents have to feed them, have to bring them food, and have to take care of them. And it might happen for a few weeks until they are big enough to learn how to fly and then fly away from the nest. But there is also the second case of precocial birds, czyli zagniazdowniki. Once they hatch, after a few hours, they are capable of exiting the nest, and they can follow their mother, their parents, and basically are less dependent. And examples of altricial birds are, for instance, sparrows or swallows, wróble lub jaskółki. Examples of precocial birds are ducks and swans. Okay, guys, so for now, this is it. I want you to be able to list a few adaptations to flying, especially with the pneumatic bones and the fact that their bodies are covered with feathers. I want you to be able to tell a few types of feathers and, of course, why they are important, what is their function, uh, and also know that birds are oviparous, that that legs are then laid into nests, and they are usually incubated. They have to be incubated, and once they hatch, what happens depends on a certain species. That we have altricial birds that chicks are dependent totally on their parents for a long time, or precocial birds when they leave their nest just a few hours after being hatched. So this is it for now. Thank you guys for your attention.